Yes, we can. We can, we will. Thank you. Stick around because this one is downright embarrassing. Keir Starmer just wrapped up his first official visit to the White House since Donald Trump returned to power, and let's just say it was nothing short of a disaster. From being publicly called out over free speech to awkward handshakes and glaring hypocrisy, this trip turned into a political nightmare. What was meant to be a diplomatic milestone quickly spiraled into an unprepared stumble into controversy. So, what exactly went wrong? Why did Starmer's visit turn into such a mess? And what does this mean for his political future? Let's break it all down. But before we dive in, can I ask for a quick favor? If you're enjoying this content, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, over 98% of you watch these videos without hitting that subscribe button. It's totally free, and it helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Now, let's get into it. Starmer arrived at the White House with high hopes, eager to showcase strength, diplomacy, and leadership on the world stage. This was supposed to be his defining moment, a chance to cement himself as a respected international statesman, reinforce UK-US relations, and, most importantly, prove to the British public that he could stand shoulder to shoulder with Trump. But from the moment he stepped inside, the atmosphere felt off. The confidence he had hoped to project was nowhere to be seen. Then came the moment that set the tone for the entire visit. Starmer was put on the spot regarding free speech, and his response was anything but reassuring. With Trump standing nearby, a US official openly questioned Starmer on censorship laws in the UK. The Prime Minister fumbled through his response, attempting to reassure the room about Britain's long-standing tradition of free speech. But the damage was done. Things only got worse when Republican Senator J.D. Vance seized the opportunity to grill Starmer about the UK's crackdown on free expression. He didn't hold back. In front of the cameras, he called out the British government's increasing restrictions on speech, pointing to instances where citizens had been arrested simply for social media posts. The moment was brutal. Starmer, caught off guard, tried to downplay the issue, but his lack of a strong response only fueled the criticism. If you're unfamiliar with Vance, let's just say he doesn't shy away from controversy. And this time was no different. He pressed Starmer further, accusing his government of creating an environment where political dissent is stifled. Starmer's attempts to brush it off only made matters worse. His hesitation, his lack of a firm stance, it all played into the growing perception that he was unprepared and outmatched. Then, there was the handshake. In politics, a handshake is more than just a greeting, it's a power move, a silent statement of confidence. When Starmer finally extended his hand to Trump, the contrast was stark. Trump, known for his firm, authoritative grip, exuded dominance. Starmer, on the other hand, looked uneasy, his handshake weak, his posture hesitant. It was a moment that spoke volumes, one that fueled the growing narrative of his lack of leadership presence. But perhaps the most humiliating part of the visit was the sheer hypocrisy on display. This is the same Keir Starmer who has spent years condemning Trump, calling him a threat to democracy and attacking his policies at every turn. Yet, here he was, standing in the White House, seemingly desperate to win Trump's approval. The shift was so glaring that even his own supporters struggled to justify it. One moment, he was branding Trump as dangerous. The next, he was smiling alongside him, attempting to portray unity. As the visit unfolded, social media erupted. Memes flooded the internet, mocking everything from Starmer's awkward handshake to his nervous demeanor and his apparent eagerness to seek Trump's favor. British commentators, from both the left and the right, tore into him, highlighting just how disastrous the trip had been. Within hours, the fallout was already evident. Public confidence in Starmer took a sharp dip, and political analysts speculated on the potential long-term damage to his leadership. One of the biggest concerns for Labour right now is the rising influence of Reform UK and figures like Nigel Farage. And Starmer's performance in Washington did nothing to help. In fact, it may have handed Reform UK a political gift. Farage wasted no time capitalising on the blunder, calling Starmer's visit a humiliation for Britain and ridiculing his attempt to cozy up to Trump. And it worked. Reform UK saw a surge in online engagement, with thousands of voters expressing frustration at Starmer's failure to take a firm stance on key issues. Many of these disillusioned voters were once loyal to Labour, but now, they feel abandoned. The consequences of this trip extend beyond the UK. European leaders who once viewed Starmer as a potential stabilising force are now questioning his ability to lead. Trade negotiators in Washington are reportedly more skeptical about Britain's bargaining power under his leadership. Even allies like Australia and Canada are beginning to reassess his political weight on the world stage. In international politics, perception is everything, and right now, Starmer's image is crumbling. Meanwhile, some media outlets are scrambling to downplay the damage. They're framing the visit as productive, focusing on minor diplomatic agreements rather than the glaring missteps. But it's too late. The public has already seen the reality. The videos have gone viral, the narrative is set, and no amount of spin can erase what happened. So, where does Starmer go from here? Can he recover from such a public embarrassment? Is there enough time to rebuild his credibility before the next election? Or has he just handed a golden opportunity to his political opponents? The road ahead is uncertain, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insightful content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Donald Trump, never one to back down from a confrontation, delivered a sharp and unapologetic takedown of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer during a live speech that immediately caught global attention. The former US president, known for his direct and often unfiltered style, did not hold back as he responded to Starmer's recent remarks about his political legacy and leadership. As the event unfolded, the audience watched in awe, witnessing yet another moment where Trump's commanding presence dominated the political landscape. Starmer, who has positioned himself as a pragmatic leader in British politics, recently made comments regarding Trump's influence on international relations. His statements, framed as concerns about the return of Trump to the White House, seemed to have struck a nerve. Trump, never one to let criticism slide, used his platform to fire back with a response that was as fierce as it was immediate. As the cameras rolled and millions tuned in, Trump's words carried the weight of a seasoned political figure who had no patience for what he deemed to be unwarranted criticism from the UK's leader. The atmosphere in the room changed the moment Trump addressed Starmer. With his signature confidence, he began dismantling the UK Prime Minister's arguments piece by piece. His words, laced with his characteristic bravado, painted Starmer as weak and ineffective, someone unfit to be challenging a political giant like himself. Trump highlighted what he described as the failures of Starmer's leadership, pointing to economic issues, immigration policies, and the overall direction of the UK under his government. He made sure to emphasize that Starmer's criticism of his leadership style was nothing more than an attempt to gain political favor among global elites. The crowd erupted as Trump delivered one cutting remark after another, making it clear that he viewed Starmer as an insignificant figure in the grand scheme of global politics. He mocked Starmer's approach to diplomacy, suggesting that the UK had become weaker under his leadership and that the country's standing on the world stage had diminished. Trump, never missing an opportunity to draw comparisons, argued that under his presidency, the United States had commanded respect worldwide, whereas Starmer's government was merely playing along with the status quo. The energy in the room was undeniable, as Trump continued his verbal onslaught with the precision of a seasoned orator. He brought up the issue of Brexit, criticizing Starmer's handling of post-Brexit policies and questioning whether he truly had the best interests of the British people at heart. His remarks were not just about Starmer's leadership but also about the broader political shifts happening in the UK. He suggested that Britain was losing its edge, becoming a nation more concerned with political correctness than actual governance. The intensity of the speech reached its peak when Trump directly called out Starmer's stance on U.S. UK relations. He accused the British leader of undermining the historic alliance between the two countries by aligning himself with anti-Trump sentiments. Trump made it clear that he viewed such actions as weak and counterproductive, arguing that strong leadership required standing firm rather than bending to the pressures of international opinion. His words resonated deeply with his supporters, who cheered and applauded throughout the speech. As expected, the media response was immediate. Within minutes, social media was flooded with reactions, with Trump supporters praising his boldness and critics condemning his harsh rhetoric. Political analysts dissected every word, debating whether Trump's remarks were a strategic move or simply another instance of his unfiltered style taking center stage. Regardless of the interpretation, one thing was certain: Trump had once again managed to dominate the news cycle, overshadowing anything else that was happening at that moment. Starmer's office was quick to respond, attempting to downplay Trump's remarks while reaffirming the Prime Minister's stance on international politics. A spokesperson for Starmer stated that the UK would continue to act in its best interests and would not be swayed by divisive rhetoric. However, the damage had been done. Trump's words had left an impact, and the spectacle of the speech had already taken hold in public discourse. This confrontation between Trump and Starmer highlighted the ongoing divide in global politics, with Trump representing a bold, unapologetic approach, while Starmer embodied the more traditional diplomatic stance. Their clash was not just a personal feud but a reflection of the larger ideological battles playing out on the world stage. In the aftermath of the speech, discussions about the future of US-UK relations intensified. Would Trump's words have a lasting effect on diplomatic ties, or would this be another moment that simply added to his long history of controversial exchanges? Whatever the outcome, one thing was certain: Trump had once again proven that when he speaks, the world listens.